What's going on, world? It's your girl Emmy here. Welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, welcome. But yeah, this video we're gonna be breaking down the X and the Y axis of your birth chart, the AC, DC, MC, and IC lines that are in your chart. It is the 4 points of your chart, the bold, thick black line. So what is it? You will see your AC, which is your ascendant point, and your DC, which is your descendant point. The AC is your rising sign. It's your ascendant sign. Basically sets the tone for the rest of your chart. The rising sign is determined, actually all of these points are determined by where the sun was at the time of your birth. AC line, your ascendant, is the exact position of where the sun was at the time of your birth, right? When you look at where the dark line is pointing at the top, it is your MC, it's your midhaven. And when you look at the bottom of your chart, that line connects to the IC line. You may notice, or if you're someone that has a bit more background in astrology, each 4 of these points are cardinal points. Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn are all cardinal signs, which basically just means that they start the seasons, and there is a bit of leadership and action taking that happens with these signs and at these points of the chart. Aries does rule the first house, the AC. Cancer rules the IC line. Libra rules the DC line, and Capricorn rules the MC line. When you look at your birth chart, you might notice that you have planets on either of these corners, okay? Depending on what the planets are, especially if it is one of your personal planets, okay? So Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. If you find any of these planets on any of these 4 points, then you might notice that, like I mentioned, right, these are very action focused because it's cardinal signs. So you might have experienced very traumatic events, life-changing events. These are very memorable events that will occur depending on what planet and what corner we're talking about. But this will normally leave a permanent impact, or not permanent because, of course, there's things that we have to work through. So you can always transmute that energy, but you can only transmute an energy if you experience it. So let's start with the AC/DC line, your rising sign. I've done a whole series on rising signs. If you're not familiar, the AC/DC line, what it does is it breaks up your chart horizontally, so it breaks it in a upper and a lower quadrant. Something that I find really interesting, lower half is ruled by IC Cancer. Cancer is the home life, right? It is the internal world, it's your emotional state. So anything that is the lower half of your chart, so from the bottom half, so 1st through 6th, right? Those houses, those symbolize more subjective experiences, or even things that like consciousness, subconsciousness, that are internal, okay? So internal, think of very Cancer-like feeling and areas, right? So it's internal, where anything on the upper quadrant, so 7 through 12, very Capricorn, very external world, right? So these are all houses that are seen. 8th house, other people's money. 9th house, philosophy, higher education. 10th house, career. 11th house, social networks. These are things that like people can really see, where 2nd house is finances, your personal finances. 3rd house is your upbringing, relationships with your siblings. 4th house is your home life. 5th house is your creativity and romance. So there's a big difference of internal and external that you can see between these 2 quadrants, correct? Now let's talk about the AC of the chart. Aries is the ruler of the 1st house. Aries is all about oneself, identity, ego, whatnot. But your rising sign also represents your personality. It represents what people see when they first meet you, who you present to the world, and how the world perceives you. It's the personality that you display. So if you have a planet here, it'll impact your personality. So for example, if you have Jupiter in your 1st house, you might be somebody that's very optimistic, somebody who may even be a little bit philosophical, see the big picture, somebody that may be well-traveled, very confident, sure of themselves, and you may even be somebody that is lucky. Now the AC line and your rising sign, all of this area of your chart, it doesn't fully determine your personality. It just shows who you are when the world first takes a look at you. The masks that we wear, they have a lot of layers, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Now the descendant, okay, so when you follow that line, you go to the DC line, the descendant. That is the opposite of Aries, Libra. Libra is all about we, Aries is all about I. If you have a planet and whatever sign is in your 7th house, This shows who you are in your close relationship. This is who you are in your friendships and your partnerships. This is how you present yourself in the workplace. This says a lot about how we connect with people and how we develop and even deal with our interpersonal relationships, how you go about them. It says a lot about what's in this house, especially like if you have Mars in your 7th house, you know, your action, you might be a bit more straightforward. You know, there's a few, you know, whatever house you have in this area, amplify how you are in your interpersonal relationships. Libra prioritizes finding balance, and it's really good at blending opposites, okay? And, you know, seeing both sides, whatnot. This area of your chart also says a lot about desirable characteristics that you may be looking for in a partner, or it can also show characteristics that you tend to fall for that aren't the best for you. For example, if your 7th house is in a fire sign, you know, you may be somebody that really looks for enthusiastic, charismatic folks, but this can also create a lot of relationships where there's a lot of confrontation, a lot of arguments. If you have this house in an earth sign, it may represent that you look for partners who are practical, that are stable, okay, but at the same time, you might also fall for partners that are controlling. If there's a planet on the AC side, it'll have a bigger effect on how you see yourself, how the world sees you, more than like external pressures, where I feel like the DC line is a lot about relationships and partnerships. But remember that even though this is a line and, you know, there's two sides of the line that the AC and the DC represent, there is no one without the other. I try to look at it as a spectrum, even though it'll always be on opposing sides, right? Opposing sides. How you see yourself will affect your relationships. How your relationships see you will affect you. So there is a give and take, even though you have to go into something understanding yourself before you can jump into a relationship. So if you are somebody that's trying to learn how to read charts, read both sides. Like if you're trying to understand how somebody is in a relationship, you also have to understand how they are on their own. If you're trying to understand somebody how they are on their own, you have to understand who they are in relationship. When you look at it this way, you're able to pick up like, okay, is this person self-absorbed? Is this person a people pleaser? Is this person arrogant? You know, different things like that. Is this person an overextender? Things like such. If I became sick, it would affect my partner. If my partner was sick, it would affect me. If I made a major change in my life, right? If I quit my job, that would affect my partner. That would affect my relationships, right? If my partner did that, it would affect, you know, me. It's more of a spectrum than a line is basically what I'm trying to get at here. Please comment down below and let me know if I'm making sense. Sometimes I feel like I ramble, and just drop a heart, okay? Drop a heart if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Now, let's move on to the MC-IC line. The MC-IC line is your MC is your outer world, your external world. Your IC is your internal world. The external world can be your paternal. The bottom is your maternal. You're looking at sun and moon, the extroverted, the introverted. The 10th house, the MC line, that is Capricorn. That's the 10th house of career, house of status, professional relationships, reputation. It's all about striving for achievement, how you hustle. So this is the most visible part of your chart because it's, you know, the highest in the sky. Just like the first house, it is what the world sees of how you show up in the world is seen here. Now the IC line, the lowest part of your chart, is ruled by Cancer. It's that internal, the emotional, the subconscious. It's your home life, okay? It's your childhood experiences. It's your relationship with your mother, 10th house, relationship with your father. It's how you nurture yourself. It's your emotional state, emotional well-being. This is the most hidden and intimate aspect of yourself. You can see your MC as your ego, right? Your ego, it develops defense mechanisms, okay? And it creates ways to deal with unresolved conflicts, all right? Unresolved conflicts that you may have experienced in your personal world, in your childhood. And it protects that emotional side of it. And it protects and can even reinforce those negative expectations and beliefs that may have been put on you, right? So what I mean by that is maybe as a kid, you know, you understood that you're only valuable for how good of your grades were. You're only valuable for, you know, how physically fit you were or how much money you made. You know, these kinds of lessons that you get taught in your childhood would affect you. So it may even affect you to the point where you're obsessed with your physical. It may affect you know, the job that you get, you know, something like a doctor or, you know, software engineer, something that's just going to make a lot of money, not that you're passionate in, but, you know, you want to be seen as valuable. So you're going to go and chase these things that as a defense mechanism to be felt and seen and show up in the world as somebody that is valuable and to show up as somebody who does deserve that respect because you never got it. The sign, right? And if you have any houses in your bottom of your chart, that would on your IC line, that would represent the things that molded your childhood, the things that molded your idea of self, inner awareness, whatever sign your MC 10th house is. And if you have any planets, that would be things around social development and just outer awareness, how you want to be perceived in the world. Like I said, with the AC/DC, this line as well, it's a spectrum, it's not just a line. We see this all the time in work settings, where if you are dealing with a shitty home life or abuse, it affects how you show up in the world. It affects your grades, it affects, you know, the quality of your work. If you're at a shitty job, if you and your teacher don't get along, it's gonna affect your home life, it's gonna affect your relationship with the people you live with. So really looking at this line is just shifting energy of balancing that, I guess, how the external world is impacting, you know, even your routine, your day-to-day routine, or maybe if you're falling off on your day-to-day routine, how that's affecting, you know, how you show up in the workplace. It's a blend, okay? Your midhaven also sometimes can be in the same house as your north node. This can show you a lot about how to reach your full potential, or even tapping into things that will help you find your place in life or feel the most fulfilled in life, depending on what areas that house may represent. Definitely pay attention to what sign and if you have any planets in this area, because that could really, you know, make an impact. If you have Mercury, maybe communicating, maybe writing, maybe getting in, you know, on social media, things like that, things that rule communication, finding your footing in communication. You know, maybe you experienced a childhood where you weren't able to find your voice, and now as an adult, you're being pushed and you're enjoying speaking, even though it may be a challenge for you. Finding the voice. Do you see what I'm saying? The connection to Mercury and what Mercury represents and how that may affect you in a career and in the work setting and workplace. So your midhaven will help you figure out your personal goals and your spiritual goals, career goals, just goals, like whatever your major goals, whatever you really want to strive. Think legacy, think what impact you want to make on the world. That would be tied in this house. Your MC, like I was saying, does have a little bit of how you, kind of like the first house, where how people see you. Your 10th house, I would say this is the social face, the career face, social qualities. Like Mercury, you may be really good at charming people, you may be really good with your words, okay? You may be somebody that in social settings is extremely charismatic. Maybe politics could be your thing. Does that make sense? How you're perceived in social settings. And it does have a little bit of how others perceive you as well. Where the 4th house is, you know, the IC line, that's your personal world. That's your internal world. That's your internal self. This is home and family. This could be the home and family that you grew up in, and this is also the home and family that you create through time and for yourself as an adult. This could be also your heritage, right? Your lineage, where you come from, you know, where your family comes from, cultural traditions, family influences, and emotional safety. It's the hidden raw parts of you. And I would say that it could even be the hurt side of you, right? Because it's that, you know, depending on where you are, you could have an unhealed inner child. Like I said earlier, the line is a spectrum, okay? It is a blend of energy. What is affecting you at work will affect you in your home life. What's affecting you in your home life will affect you at work. If you have planets on this line, it could represent, you know, experiences with a lot of change in your home life and growing up as a kid, or maybe you're somebody that moves around a lot. It could mean changes in your career. It could mean that you have longevity in a career. For example, if you had Saturn or Uranus, maybe Jupiter even on your IC line, the bottom of your chart, you could have been a kid that grew up moving around everywhere, or maybe you as an adult really enjoy moving around everywhere. The reason changes based off, you know, your own personal chart. But yeah, take a look at what planets are on these corners of your chart. Take a look at what is aspecting these planets. I do have a video on aspects if you're curious. If you have a planet on your first house, it's going to be very visibly apparent to the outside world, Where if you have a planet on your 4th house line, on the IC line, it's not going to be something that we see. It's going to be something that only you see, that you feel. If you have a planet on your 7th house line, it's going to be more of what you look for in relationships, how you are in relationships, how relationships, workplace, romantic, friendship, how they hurt you. It's not limited to just marriage, you know, even though it is the house of marriage and contracts, but it's also business. So basically, you know, whatever you're looking for is what you're lacking, right? Or vice versa. So again, that spectrum, right? Aries is known to be very selfish. Libra is all about we. So of course, finding somebody that will help balance you out in a way. The 10th house is what you project to the world. It's your career life. It's what you're striving for. Where your IC line is, it's more of a emotional response, especially due to childhood. Yes, that's everything that I have for the bones, the X and Y axis of your chart. I hope this was helpful. I was a little tired, but I really wanted to get this video out because you guys are the best, and I need to show up for you daily, consistently, and that's what I promise to do. So thank you for watching. Thank you for watching to the end. Please drop a smiley face if you stay to the end, and I'll see you in my next video. Have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Okay, bye.